Trump shuts down Medicare coverage for GLP-1s, Kennedy slashes the FDA, and Zepbound shows up on Hims and Hers with a shocking price tag, plus billion-dollar profits, award-winning science, and Big Pharma's war on compounding heats up.
Hello from the Downsized News. It's Monday, April 7th, 2025, and we've got the latest news on GLP-1 treatments just for you. I'm Lorraine Durham, and I've successfully dropped over 50 pounds using tirzepatide.
And I'm Christopher Durham. I've lost 102 pounds with the help of GLP-1s. Today, we'll be diving deep into the latest news on GLP-1s from Mounjaro and Zepbound to Wegovy, Ozempic, tirzepatide, semaglutide, and so much more.
Before we get started, a quick reminder, we are not doctors. While we're passionate about GLP-1s and fighting the disease of obesity, it's essential to consult with a qualified healthcare professional before beginning any new medication or treatment. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the notification bell so you never miss an update. Let's explore today's top stories and see how they impact the world of GLP-1s.
As a reminder, The Downsized is not a political channel. We do have several political stories today. But when politics directly impact patients using GLP-1 medications to treat obesity, we believe it's important to report on it. We will always support policies that increase the affordability and accessibility of these vital medications and treatments, regardless of which side of the aisle they come from. Our focus is on real people, real stories, and real impact. So, story number one. On Friday, the Trump administration officially shut down a Biden-era plan that would have allowed Medicare to cover GLP-1 medications like Wegovy and Zepbound for the treatment of the disease of obesity. For those of us using GLP-1s to treat that disease, this is a big deal. The proposal would have expanded access to these medications for more than 7 million people on Medicare and Medicaid. But now, that door is closed, at least for now. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, or the CMS, didn't give a detailed reason. They simply said they weren't finalizing the plan, but may take another look at it. So the idea isn't completely dead, but it's not moving forward. This proposal, initially introduced by the Biden administration, aimed to treat obesity as a chronic disease, as the chronic disease that Lorraine and I know it is, something that science and a lot of us living with it already understand. The rule would have let Medicare cover GLP-1s for people with a BMI of 30 or higher. It also would have helped Medicaid patients in states that don't currently cover weight loss medications. But the price tag was high. The government estimated that covering these medications could cost Medicare $25 billion over a decade. Medicaid coverage would have added another $11 billion, with states responsible for about $3.8 billion of that, which assumes pricing that would stay the same, that the government had no power to negotiate. Given the recent cuts to government spending, this outcome isn't surprising, though it's still disappointing. What's often lost in this conversation are the indirect costs of obesity, which are estimated at well over $1 trillion annually. Missed work, disability complications from diabetes, heart disease, none of that makes it into the cost-benefit analysis. And yet, that's the true financial burden we're carrying. Obesity isn't just about weight. It's about what comes with it, comorbidities that affect nearly every part of the body. We're talking about type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, sleep apnea, heart disease, joint problems, and more. These are conditions that shorten lives and stretch our healthcare system thin and cost millions. When we treat obesity with GLP-1s, many of these risks and costs can be lowered. That means fewer emergency room visits, fewer surgeries, fewer medications down the line. It also means more people staying in the workforce, more stability for families, and lower long-term health care costs. But somehow those savings never seem to make it into the math. Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly, the makers of Wegovy and Zepbound, haven't said much yet. But Lilly said it was disappointed and wants to keep pushing for Medicare and Medicaid coverage. Novo said it hopes the Trump administration will update the official definition of obesity and recognize it as the disease that it is. As of now, 13 states cover GLP-1 through Medicaid for obesity, but that leaves a lot of people in the gap, especially those on Medicare. And the reality is more and more people on Medicare are living with obesity. In 2022, 22% of Medicare enrollees had a diagnosis of obesity. That's double what it was just decades earlier. I wasn't terribly surprised by this decision. Biden tried to slide this in the last couple of weeks of his administration, and The Trump team has obviously turned this around.
Yeah, it's unfortunate they don't see how by treating the disease of obesity, they could avoid so many other problems down the line. So a lot of our viewers have reached out over this. They're upset over this. We're upset over this. We'll just have to keep pushing for it.
But to be clear, this rule change had never actually been implemented, so no one's having any services taken away. It was something that was proposed by the Biden administration. It would have taken a few years to implement, and Trump just said, or his team said, we're not going to do that.
In story number 2, telehealth company Hims & Hers has announced it will begin offering Eli Lilly's weight loss drug Zepbound on its platform. The move expands the company's lineup of GLP-1 medications, which includes both branded and compounded options. In addition to Zepbound, which contains the active ingredient tirzepatide, Hims & Hers also offers Mounjaro as well as Wegovy. Shortly after the announcement, Eli Lilly released a statement clarifying that it has no affiliation with Hims & Hers. According to Lilly, Zepbound can be prescribed by any licensed healthcare professional. People with commercial insurance may qualify to pay as little as $25. For those paying out of pocket, Zepbound is available directly through Lilly's own platform, Lilly Direct, starting at $349 per month. Hims & Hers lists Zepbound on its site at around $1,899 per month, significantly higher than most Americans will pay even at Lilly's list price. The company says adding Zepbound to part of its efforts to expand access to clinically proven treatments for patients using GLP-1s to treat the disease of obesity.
This was kind of funny. Hims & Hers says, we're adding Zepbound, and they kind of spun it like it was a partnership with Lilly.
And Lilly said, no. And at $1,899, I mean, I think the list price at my local CVS I checked today was about $1,100.
Right. So it's
why would you do that?
I mean, it gave them a bump in their stock for about half a
20
day.
minutes
Yeah.
before the whole stock market crashed.
So always check on your prices. Make sure you're getting them from the right place. I mean, Hims & Hers is certainly a significant telehealth company, and we hope they can be successful. But I don't know that this is the best place to get Zepbound right now.
Any licensed doctor can prescribe Zepbound. So You don't need to go through a telehealth. You can get it from your local doctor.
And they can prescribe it to Lilly Direct. There's instructions on the site. So if you'd like them to do that, go print them out and take them to your doctor. In story number 3, our second story on politics, a major shakeup is underway in Washington on Tuesday. Thousands of government health workers were fired. These weren't random cuts. They were ordered by Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the new Secretary of Health and Human Services. His plan? Shrink the agency by nearly a quarter. HHS is going down from 82,000 employees to 62,000. Some left through early retirements, but 10,000 were fired this week, including huge numbers at the FDA and the CDC. These are the agencies that oversee, regulate, and approve medications like Zepbound, Mounjaro, Wegovy, and Ozempic, the same ones many of us use to treat the disease of obesity. Now, the agencies are seeing serious staffing cuts. At the FDA, 3,500 jobs were cut. The CDC lost 2,400 jobs, another 1,200 were let go from the NIH, and 300 more from Medicare and Medicaid services. Outside HHS headquarters in Washington, workers cried and hugged as they packed up their desks. One of the hardest hit areas, the teams who handle public records, the FOIA offices. The entire CDC FOIA team was eliminated. 2/3 of the FDA's record staff were also cut. That means hundreds of pending requests for public information are now on hold, with no one assigned to them. So FOIA means Freedom of Information Act. So if you'd like to know something they're doing as a citizen, you can request. Officials say Kennedy wants to consolidate all FOIA work into a single department-wide office, but no one knows yet how that will work or when. Communications teams across the CDC, the FDA, and Medicare were also gutted. At the same time, Kennedy's office has tightened control over what scientific reports get published and what public information gets released. Kennedy says all of this is about cutting waste and creating a smaller, more focused government. He's calling the overhaul the Administration for a Healthier America. His goal is to reduce the number of divisions inside HHS from 28 to 15 and cut the number of regional offices in half. In a video, Kennedy said, "We're going to do more with less." No American is going to be left behind. Let's hope not. But lawmakers and health experts are raising serious questions. Two U.S. senators, Republican Bill Cassidy and Independent Bernie Sanders, have asked Kennedy to explain the cuts in a Senate hearing later this month. And for those of us who rely on GLP-1s, these changes could have a real impact. The real question is, how will this affect the FDA's oversight of compounded medications? We simply don't know the answer. Or how will it impact the approval process for much anticipated new drugs like Cagrasema or Forglipron and Retatrutide? And will fewer staff mean slower drug reviews, fewer inspections, and even more red tape, not less? While there's always room to improve how government works and to refine policies, regulations, and staffing, it remains to be seen whether these sudden mass firings will make the system better or worse. One can only hope that the right analysis and thoughtful review were done before these decisions were made, not just to move quickly, but to move wisely. Because if you're on a GLP-1 today or hoping for better treatment options tomorrow, these changes could matter a lot. Huge changes. They've been laying people off across a lot of government agencies.
It's unfortunate for those people who've lost their jobs, less people at the FDA. The FDA approves new drugs. We want these new drugs approved.
Yeah, we just don't really know how this is going to all play out. So we'll be following it closely.
In story number 4, Novo Holdings just had its best year ever. The investment group owns a huge share of Novo Nordisk, the maker of Wegovy and Ozempic. Thanks to those blockbuster drugs, Novo Holdings brought in a record $8.7 billion last year. That's nearly double what they earned the year before. Wegovy and Ozempic are changing the lives of patients, and they're also pumping serious cash into the pockets of the people behind them. Novo Holdings uses the profits to invest in science, medicine, and other areas. They manage money for the Novo Nordisk Foundation, one of the largest charitable organizations in the world. In 2024, their investment portfolio made an 18% return. In 2023, that number was just 9.4%. Their CEO, Kassim Kute, said it was the company's strongest year ever. He also shared plans to grow in Asia, with a new office opening soon in Mumbai. Novo Holdings added 43 new life science companies to its portfolio last year, focusing on cancer, obesity, and brain diseases. They also made their biggest deal ever, buying a company called Catalent for $16.5 billion. Then they sold part of it to Novo Nordisk to help speed up Wegovy production. Even with all the success, their total assets dropped slightly from $149 billion in 2023 to $142 billion in 2024. That's because Novo Nordisk's stock value dipped a bit last year. Still, with demand for GLP-1s like Wegovy at an all-time high, the money is clearly flowing. And for patients using these medications to treat obesity, it's another reminder of how much power and profit is tied to these drugs.
So
it's a lot of money.
Corporate organizations are kind of convoluted, but essentially Novo Nordisk is owned by another company called Novo Holdings that owns a lot of stuff. They also have a very large charity, so if you went to the Novo Holdings site, they actually fund a lot of medications in third world countries. You could actually apply to get cheaper drugs yourself if you'd like to.
It's nice.
Wildly profitable.
Yeah, 149. I mean, it's just, the numbers are, I don't even know what $149 billion
Yeah, it's beyond comprehension. Yeah. Story number 5, Novo Nordisk wants to add a new use for its oral GLP-1 medication, Rybelsus. The company hopes the FDA will approve it to lower the risk of heart disease in people with type 2 diabetes. If the FDA says yes, Rybelsus would become the first oral GLP-1 to carry this kind of heart protection label. Right now, only the injected GLP-1s like Ozempic and Wegovy have that approval. Rybelsus doesn't get as much attention as its injected cousins, but it still made $3.4 billion in 2024. Novo is pushing to show it can offer real benefits beyond blood sugar control. The SOUL trial studied over 9,600 people with type 2 diabetes and either heart disease or kidney disease. It showed that Rybelsus cut the risk of major heart problems like heart attack, stroke, or death by 14% compared to a placebo. Doctors say the results are promising. The safety profile was about what you'd expect. Fewer heart problems and infections were reported in people taking Rybelsus, but there were slightly more stomach issues, and more people on Rybelsus stopped treatment than those on placebo. Novo also shared more news about Wegovy. In a real-world study, patients who were overweight or obese and took Wegovy had a 57% lower risk of major heart problems or death compared to those who didn't use it. Novo is clearly trying to show that GLP-1 medications do more than just treat diabetes or obesity. They're trying to prove these drugs can save lives by protecting the heart, too. This could mean more treatment options for patients and maybe more pressure for insurance companies to cover these medications. We've talked about this story earlier on in the earlier phases of the research, and it's exciting to see it starting to come to life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've done some downsized dish interviews with a couple people who have taken Rybelsus, so if it can help with cardiac disease, that would be great. In story number 6, GLP-1 scientists win $3 million for an Oscar of Science. This is a big win for science and for everyone using GLP-1s to treat the disease of obesity. 5 scientists who helped discover and develop GLP-1 medications just won one of the highest honors in the world of science, the 2025 Breakthrough Prize in Life Sciences. It comes with a $3 million award, but honestly, the impact of their work is priceless. Let's talk about the winners. Daniel Drucker is an endocrinologist at the University of Toronto. He's one of the leading voices behind GLP-1 research and helped uncover how this hormone works across the body, beyond just insulin. Joel Habner, an endocrinologist at Harvard Medical School, helped identify GLP-1 and showed that it's made in the gut and plays a huge role in regulating blood sugar. Jens Juel Hoist, a psychologist at the University of Copenhagen, confirmed GLP-1's role in appetite and energy balance. His work helped the world understand how it could be used to treat both diabetes and obesity. Lottie Knudsen, a pharmaceutical scientist at Novo Nordisk, helped develop a longer-acting version of the hormone. Her work made once-weekly injections like Mounjaro and Zepbound possible. Thanks, Lottie. And
Svetlana. And I think it's Moisev.
And Svetlana Moisev, a chemist at the Rockefeller University, synthesized and characterized the active forms of GLP-1. Her early lab work helped unlock the door to the entire class of medication. Together, these 5 scientists discovered the GLP-1 gene, figured out how the hormone worked, showed its power to regulate insulin and hunger, and then helped it turn into medicine that's now changing lives. Their research didn't just happen last year, it took decades. Years of slow, steady, brilliant science that eventually led to the medications we now rely on. And now, finally, the world is recognizing it. The prize ceremony took place in Los Angeles on April 5th. The Breakthrough Prize is often called the Oscars of Science, and this year the spotlight landed squarely on GLP-1s. For those of us living with obesity, this moment matters. It validates what we've been saying all along. Obesity is a disease, and treating it with science, not shame, is the future. Thanks to Drucker, Habner, Hoist, Knudsen, and Moisev, that future is already here.
Lots of cool scientists, and I know for the science geeks out there, there's a lot of data that's come out of this. If you want to go learn about these scientists, you could dive in deep. It's pretty cool work.
Yeah, so there were 5 scientists who each figured out a piece of this puzzle, right? And brought it together to give us
right, and they were working independently, so I don't know that they even knew each other. Maybe they did. Maybe they presented a paper at a conference or something, but they were all at different places just kind of figuring out pieces of it. It's very cool. Story number 7, Big Pharma is turning up the heat on compounding pharmacies with a social media advertising blitz. This week, Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk launched a wave of ads across TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, and more. The message: compounded versions of their GLP-1 medications are dangerous and should disappear. One bold statement from Lilly reads, "Mass compounding must stop." Their ad warns that patients should never be exposed to unsafe mass-produced knockoffs. It links to a webpage that paints compounded drugs as risky, unapproved, and untested. Novo Nordisk is pushing a similar message with its new campaign called Flip the Script. Their ad claims knockoff compounded semaglutide is on the way out and encourages people to try the real Wegovy, now available nationwide in all doses. The company says some patients may pay as little as $0 a month. These campaigns mark the latest step in a broader effort. Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk are pouring millions into legal action and marketing to protect their patents and their profits. The pressure on state-regulated compounding pharmacies continues to grow. The fight for safe, affordable access to GLP-1s is far from over, and we'll be tracking it along the way. So you've seen these ads, right?
Oh, yeah. They came up in my Facebook feed on numerous pages, especially the Lilly one, mass compounding must stop. And people really came at them, to say the least. You know, there was a couple that I saw one where someone was anonymous user, like sticking up for Eli Lilly, but most were regular people saying, hey, we need these medications at an affordable price, and compounding is the way we've been using them. So, you know, I've used compounded tirzepatide to lose over 50 pounds, and I would hate to see it go away.
And I'll say it again, guys, you could lower price and end compounding today if you wanted to, and you'd save all that marketing and legal dollars. Just saying, try it. You might like it. And the market is 74% of America.
I mean, they're making, you know, I understand they took decades to bring this medication to market, right? And we appreciate that. And we don't want to take anything away from that, but they're making billions and billions of dollars per quarter. And at what point is this just a public health issue? You know, at what point is this, 74% of America is overweight or has obesity. You could do so much good by just simply providing it at $199 a month, $99 a month, $50 a month.
That seems unrealistic, but it's a big ask.
But
I mean, it's why I kind of framed this news episode with the Trump ending the whole Medicare idea and these ads at the beginning and the end, because somewhere in the middle there, there is a solution where governments around the world have banded together, and we see it all over the place where they're negotiating. Other governments,
not in the U.S.
are negotiating to get a better price, a fairer price. Ours does not choose to do that. But there's got to be a space where there's some sort of public-private conversation where these companies still are wildly profitable and Americans can still get these medications at a reasonable price. Or maybe that's a public-private partnership. Maybe that's the government saying, we got to figure this out. It all of a sudden is a public health crisis. It's a defense crisis if 74% of the people are overweight or obese. I don't know what the answer is. Don't pretend to. But we've got to have the conversation, and we've got to find a way to move forward with this.
Well, Eli Lilly could solve this all very quickly by dropping their price, by releasing the vials at all doses and dropping the price to $199 a month. Who's going to buy compounding if Eli Lilly's product, the brand name, and it's the same or a lower price?
Yep. So that's the latest from the Downsized. I hope you found today's insights helpful as you navigate your GLP-1 adventure.
And while you're here, don't forget to check out our Downsized store at thedownsized.org, where you'll find GLP-1 companion products and more to support your adventure.
I'm Christopher Durham.
I'm Lorraine Durham.
We're the Downsized. We'll see you next week.